Okay, I think this is on. Let's go here and maybe get this started first. Before anything, there we go. Get the announcement center thing in. 2-stone handicap. So there we go. See what we can do here. We're going to actually invade this one. I would usually approach on this side, by the ways. I probably should just adjust the Comey to 0.0, basically. It's weird having handicap and Comey because that doesn't really make too much sense. This one's okay, actually. This is not a bad play. This is kind of a weird one. This is kind of a new play, but I think this is one that some people aren't really familiar with. But it is the little thing here is fine, actually. I think he's obviously making a bit of a moyo here with these two sides. I think it is pretty crucial, though, to actually get something here. Okay. That's an interesting thing. I can just give this up and go on top. I think that would be okay. There's not too much territory here, and I think that's what I'm going to do. I can go on this side as well. Actually, no, that's not a good idea. 'Cause if I do this and do this, I don't think I win this. Yeah, I don't know if I actually win this. Because if he goes down here, then I don't really have any way to deal with this. Do this first, come up this way. But if he connects, I don't really have any way to deal with this. So this is the best move. I probably should have just retreated here. Oh yeah, okay, I forgot about that. Thanks for reminding me. I keep on forgetting because I do shift the other way. So this is okay for me. It's not like massively great. You can come up here first though. That's problematic because that's not. Oh yeah, this is a little bit problematic. Oh yeah, I also want to. I actually want to do the pop out chat because that actually is important to me. I need to get out of this. I need to get out of this. This is actually a little bit harder of a. This is actually a little bit harder of a start than I usually have with this because I'm usually doing something weird and they make some kind of mistake by this point, but this time not so much. This time is actually okay. So there we go. That's what I want. The doubles tiger. I don't like the double tiger's mouth here, but I also don't want. I guess I'll just go down because I can just come up with this wall. Actually, no, I can't. That was a mistake. Oh well, whatever. Yeah, that was a mistake. So this is definitely a big mistake for me. Because I can't actually capture the stone. The thing doesn't actually work. Yeah, that's a big mistake for me. I should have just connected. I should have like either double tigers and author connect up here. That was not a good play. When he played this, I should have just retreated. Doing okay. I did mess up here in the corner a little bit, but that's fine. Like right now, black just has too much territory potential. Yeah, that's the right move. Um, because I did screw up there. Invasions are okay as well. This invasion is. I think a lot of people have problems with this invasion. That is definitely the wrong move, though. That is not a move you want to do for this invasion. Yeah, that's really bad. That particular move is really, really bad for this particular invasion. Because you're not really securing either side. You probably want to play c4 pretty much always for when he invades here, because you force him to take one of the two sides. So the thing is, he either gets the corner or he goes out there. That's really bad because, yeah, that's just really bad. You're hurting this side now, and you're not getting much on this side. If I Hane here, I still have an eye down here. So realistically, that invasion isn't. This is not. This is definitely not the right answer to this invasion. He did get okay though. He did divide the two sides. I'm probably just going to not answer this. There's still an invasion down here. It's not worth it right now. And the Hane here is probably better. There's no real potential for territory down there anymore. So we're gonna go with this. This one he can just go on top. If I do this, he can just go on top here. I can probably live down there, but I'm not sure. Here, it would be kind of hard for him to answer as well. So I'm going to try this. This particular stone here is a little weird in terms of the stone, and I do have this move here later on. This is going this cutting point is going to be like an absolute not so good stuff for me. Yeah, that's always going to be a little bit of a disaster for me right there. I can do this. He does have this move, however, but I can come down this way. I can do this first. I'd really prefer not to. I can try this, but I think I'm going to do this. This is very hard for him to capture. It does make this a little weak, though. It's like these three stones are a little bit. I mean, there's not much territory down here anyway, so I guess it doesn't really matter. This is where like moves like S6 become really large for white. I still need to answer that, unfortunately. This is probably not the right way to go. I'm just trying to destroy his territory, but this is most likely not the way to do it. If he lets me go up top, that's fine. He's going to let me go up top. All right. And possibly cut those two off. I'm actually cool with that. So you want to do that. You want to do this first. He's not going to let you take those two stones. So you can actually force all the way down. On the other hand, if he lets you take you those, he can't let you take those two stones. So technically, he can't actually do that move. Well, I mean, he can. It's just like he gets a bigger corner here. I'm just gonna go ahead and do this. But there's a lot of weaknesses inherent here. I'm actually going to just connect this. This makes these three pretty weak. There's a lot of liberties over here, so he has some. He definitely has problems right now. So since this is going to be Sente, if I do this and he does this, I have a large problem because he can actually invade down here. So I can't actually do that. I kind of want to, but I don't know if that would be the best. I can play this. So if he does, well, let's try this. This is important, but I don't know, like, that's fine. That actually solves one of my problems. If I just cut here, I don't want him to actually be able to do that. If I do this and I think I can take the top stone. That actually like makes both this group and this group fairly strong. If I do that. So he might not want to do that. It is giving him some territory down here, though. It's fine. Ooh. But there's a problem with this particular move, though. There's a problem with this. Okay. I don't care if he can extend that if I'm alive. Right? So we're going to just build as much eye space down here as possible. You're going to want to cut this regardless. Oh, that's a bad play. Because yeah, that's just a bad play. I'm going to come out this way first. There's going to be some serious fighting here. I might have done this wrong, actually, unfortunately. He might be putting his entire group in danger, though, is the thing. But now this group comes into play as well, so I've got to be careful about this. So I don't think he can come down this way. He can connect this way, but I might actually just be alive. And there... Yeah, he can't come down that way. No, he can't. I might have actually just messed up. Like, hugely. Yeah, I think I messed up. I did not think too well about this. Oh, crap. Just messed up. I don't have enough liberties. I do not have enough liberties for this. Crap. No, I knew I was going to do something dumb. Knew I was going to do something stupid. Just do that. Oh, okay. Since he didn't kill me, I'm okay. I wouldn't have done that. I would have just gone ahead and tried to kill this group because I think he has more liberties than me in here. I'm actually pretty sure he does. Because now if he does this, I can just come down. He can try to play the Ko, I guess. So that particular move, like you should move this out first. I'm gonna just take this. He can still try to attack this group. That group's not alive. That's actually what I would do. Try to attack that group. Actually, no. His group isn't alive either, is it? But I'm actually going to do a 2-space jump first, I think. Lengthen him out.
Byoyomi.
I want to get a Sente here. It's probably not the best move, but I do want to get a Sente here. It would be pretty bad for him if he didn't respond here, though. Also, this is a huge problem. Well, I guess that's not such a huge problem for me because I have that stone. Yeah, I think he miscalculated this. He's actually dead. I should have seen that from the beginning. Should have seen it from the beginning. That doesn't really help him because I can just go up here. And I can cut here, which means I can deprive him of his eye. After I deprive him of his eye, it's going to be really hard for him. And remember, connecting this is always Sente for me because I can just go here. So if he like Hane's here, right, I'm going to retreat. If he does that, I can just do this. I'm pretty sure I can just do that. If he jumps, I can do that. And then putting in here, I'm actually alive and he's not. Oh, escaped barely on that one. I think I was on the cusp of losing this one. I think had he just gone for the kill here, I would have definitely lost because I don't have enough liberties to. I didn't have enough liberties to fight this group. Not a well played game by me. Didn't definitely I didn't calculate this right because his group definitely had more liberties than my group, so I needed to make sure of that. This is dead because I can just kind of do this. I could have also come down here, by the ways. So he did owe a move down here, so he can't actually take Sente up there. This is kind of a bitchy one for me to deal with. That I will give you, but I can connect. But see, this makes it a lot easier for me to deal with because all I really have to do is live, and I win. So even if I sacrifice this, I probably win. I have an extra liberty up here because I didn't actually.
Ten.
I gotta hurry up on this. There's an extra liberty up here. That actually means a lot because if he does this, I can just connect, I believe. So he can't actually do anything. I don't think there's. So I have two options. I can either connect or I can come down here. He only has three liberties down here. So as long as I can get more than three, which I'm not sure I can, I'm actually just going to Tiger's Mouth up here. Remember, this is still here. This one has to be connected, I think. If I get either of these groups to live, I'm going to win. And remember, his... Oh. Well, that sucks. I might have to give up that one, but that's fine. Um, he's not actually alive. Here's the other thing. He would be... I can just go ahead and take this. This group would be alive. If he connects this, I might not have the liberties to actually fight him.
9. 8.
I'm going to do this first. Then I can connect and come out this way.
Ten. 9. 8.
I might not be doing this right. The sequencing on this is probably pretty bad by me. I think I still have more liberties than he does, though. He's definitely going to lose this one. I think he's going to lose this one anyways. I'm not 100% sure. But I'm like 99% sure he's going to lose this one. Oh, wait a minute. No, I have 4 liberties. I'm fine. He only has 3. This is also another reason why you never like fill in this liberty. Because if I had filled in that liberty, I would be dead. I think I can probably live this group down here just because this group is very weak. Like I would obviously jump in here first. And this would pose this group with a lot of trouble. He's lacking 1 liberty. I think that's easy for like everyone to see. Because if I just play this, he extends here, I can come in here. I still have 2 on the outside. So this game was actually a lot closer than this looks because I almost lost this group here. This group here should have been dead.
You have won.
So let's go back and review this game. I'm pretty sure I should have lost this game here. I might be a little bit wrong, but I definitely messed up in that corner over there. So this is fine. I definitely would have done this. This puts so like these kind of moves, whether doing this or doing this is better than just doing this, because if you do this, you're putting pressure on these 3 and you're also putting pressure on the stone. So I have to choose between the 2 sides. So basically, like, this might look scary starting a fight right now, but this definitely puts black in an advantageous position. You're splitting his stones into 2 weak groups. And so you're definitely going to have the advantage on him. This is not going to be good. I'm playing this now instead of this mainly because like the AI does actually say this is a better move. To me, they're about the same, honestly. But the AI does say that's a better move. I get that. This is the correct move. Right now, the reason why this is the correct move is it gives you more protection on this side. And the thing is, like, this is not worth it right now. So that's not too bad. I should have gone here instead of here. Yeah, that's definitely true. I went here. You do this. I'm going to go under. Just take the regular Sente and do that. The 3/3 invasion is technically the best, but I want to put pressure on this group. I just played this wrong. So instead of actually just responding, coming up here is better because it forces white to do that. The thing is, like, these 2 stones are actually expendable, right? So let's say like black goes elsewhere, right? If white pushes, you can just retreat. This is actually not good for white. Like, this is actually not good for white. This is giving up too much territory. And this is actually the whole concept. This is honestly like the whole concept of like this Joseki, is that like if white pushes, you can just retreat. So fixing this cutting point is actually not necessary. Like, actually, I should have gone up here because then if I push, then you can't really retreat. So since I actually played this wrong, you can actually go here. You can just try to surround me and stuff, because if I push, you can always retreat. You don't have to block when I push. This is more of like a testing to see where you would go. Do this first. This is definitely the right move. I totally screwed this up by doing that. Because yeah, you can cut here first. I connect, he does that. I probably should have done that, but I didn't do that because I don't think this ladder works. But once I do that, you do this. I can do this, and now this ladder would work. If you don't respond, I can probably Hane down, and that would give you a lot of trouble. Although I don't like this either, because you can just go ahead and kill this, obviously. So a lot of problems there for me. So that's why I just like took this move. Not the best move, definitely. Gives black a free move. So invading here. So the answer would like on this type of shape on the knight's invasion. On this invasion, you always do this. This forces him to either go here. Sorry, not here. This forces him to either push in. And yes, he can. I'm pretty sure he can actually live here. Because maybe not. Yeah, he can live here. He can actually live here. But the thing is, like, that's fine because you actually that's fine because you actually get white actually like black actually gets both sides. This is a very small group to live here, so it's not a big deal. So, and if he does the other side, then you just kind of take the corner. So you kind of force him to choose between the corner or the side. So like when someone invades, unless you're like doing this or something for some odd reason to build, unless you're doing that to build influence up here, generally the correct answer is to just do that. Make him choose either the corner or the side. That is not a very good move overall because it gives the obvious, it does give the obvious, the elephant, you know, like it gives the center move dividing. This, I guess, would be fine. I probably would do this and just jump out. You're fine with this as well. It's not too bad, honestly. Doing that, I think it gives me... I know the AI wants to play up here. You should not play this because the AI can calculate 40 moves in advance, and this is a very complex move of fighting, and it goes much further than that. So I just chose to come out. He does that. I'm going to do that. This is the right move because it actually, if you do this, it does actually fill your shape up here. Doing this is not that great of a move because there's the obvious counter Hane, or you know what, I could even do something like that. So I decided to counter Hane. I don't really like this for black. I know the AI says it's okay. I personally don't like this for black that much because it does kind of hurt this shape and it does force you to do that move. So I'm going to come out this way. This is fine for black. I do this. And then I'm going to invade here. I do actually think this invasion's better now that I look at it because it does give you the option of the knight's move if white doesn't respond. But this isn't too different. This stone is not that good because it's a little too far from this stone. And also like if you had played 03 in the beginning, like this invasion obviously wouldn't be that great. But he does that. Yeah, the right move is probably to move down here. It's really hard to kill white in this situation. So I attach. Attachment. So this move is good. Your group's not under threat, and you're actually threatening my group. So you're like when you play this move, you're cutting both these groups because if I do this, you can just Hane overhead, and it's actually kind of hard for me to deal with. So like you want to separate out my two weak groups because your groups aren't weak. So doing that is not the best thing because it gives me Sente, and I'm not just going to follow you out. I'm going to try to go for a base. And this is the correct move, by the way. This is easily the correct move. Maybe do something like this. It does leave the chance for this later. I wouldn't play that now, but it does leave the chance for that later. But this is the incorrect move because, yes, you do get the territory on the bottom. But you're cutting off these two stones. I should have played this, by the way. But you're cutting off those two stones. This cut isn't really much of a big deal. I should be trying to establish a base for white here and take away black's base. If you've been watching Colossus in his channel, you'll understand why this is the correct move to go. Because this is like pretty crucial. This move is pretty crucial because it does take away his base while establishing my base. This isn't nearly as good. This is fine. This is okay with me. This is okay by me because it cuts off these three stones. This is kind of hard to determine. Like I am kind of like afraid that he does something like this, or like even does something like this. because then he can invade down here, and I might be in a little bit of trouble. Like he can actually attach here, and I wouldn't exactly know where to play. So I was a little bit afraid of that. So that's why I actually didn't do that, and I just went ahead and attached here. Realistically, this would have been a better move. Attached here. Since I didn't actually, since like I didn't do anything here, this is generally a bad move because this actually fixes. This is a bad move because it takes away this option. It also takes away this option, and it also takes away this option. So that's why this is generally a bad move for black. Because like yeah, this if you trade this move and this move, like white actually has territory down here now. Whereas before you have a plethora of invasion options. So your black's really not gaining anything, and white basically solidifies his bottom. That's why it's a bad move. The trade is bad. Well, the thing about Colossus' teachings, like what I find about his teachings is it's actually really good for you to get from DDK to SDK. It's actually quite good for you to get to kind of like, but like if you get trapped in if you get trapped in that kind of mindset, it's actually harder for you to move from SDK to Dan. Because when you get to like 6-7Q and your mentality is to base and to fix cuts, then it's like really, really tough to actually change that mentality to like, okay, I don't have to fix every cut. I just have to figure out like which value of what stones are bigger. But if your goal is to actually get to like SDK, then his classes are like really good. I do think his teaching method also changes as he goes progressive higher in ranks, but most of the people he teaches are like pretty close to DDK. But like I said, it is actually really, really good for getting out of DDK. So like, it depends what your goals are. If your goals are to become professional, then you need a professional teacher, which is not either me or him, obviously. If your goal is to become SDK, then his classes will get you to SDK because you won't make any catastrophic mistakes or less of them. So like obviously a lot of you are asking about this. And this is not good for black because yes, you live down here, but you basically fix white's problems both on this group, and you don't have anything to attack. So like right now, if I was playing black, this option would be okay for me because I get Sente and black still has more territory, so I could win against myself, obviously. But generally playing against a weaker player, I think I would be able to make up like 7 points in the following game. So in the rest of the game. So that basically, that basically is not good for black because although you get the bottom territory, white does fix both his group's problems. And the invasion is generally successful. So that's why you don't really play that way. This is actually, the way he played is correct. He should have Tiger's Mouthed. Yes, Tiger's Mouth is usually not that good, but in this particular case, I wouldn't like it does threaten this cut up here, so I would have to do that. So because he does that, I'm going to, you know what? I shouldn't have done this. I definitely should have Atari'd. That was a huge mistake, but this is actually a really big mistake by me because Atari it's just so much more threatening. I wouldn't follow Katago's advice because Katago tells me to sacrifice these stones, and I wouldn't actually do that. The sacrificing these stones is a lot of territory, but if you can actually hijack the corner in place, if you can actually hijack the corner and give up these stones right now, it actually is worth it. I know like a lot of you are saying like, you know what, this is a lot of stones to give up. Yes, it is a lot of stones to give up, but the thing is you're not really giving up any outside influence. And these stones are roughly worth 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 14, maybe about 20 points. But if you hijack the entire corner here, he has to connect, right? So after this sequence, like you can actually kill this corner, or even if he connects, you can actually like get back here. So giving up 20 points for hijacking all his bottom territory and basically getting a corner base with this group is actually worth it. That's a very high level type of trade. I would actually not make this type of trade because I like just initially looking at it, I'd be like, oh my god, there's a lot of stones I'm sacrificing here. But if it were like 9 Dan pros playing, this kind of trade would actually be okay. To me, like I would never do this trade because I would just be caught up in this is a lot of stones. But if you're really thinking of a really high level trade, that would actually work. So I decided to go here. He does this. Yeah, if you should definitely disconnect. You should definitely disconnect because white going here, you can actually fix this via Sente. I'm not going to let you push down. So that would actually make things quite a bit harder for me. I can live here most likely. I'm pretty sure I can actually live here, but make things a little bit harder. So I should have connected here, but I was greedy. It doesn't cost me too much. Yes. Well, like Julio, that's true. I do that all the time. But the thing is, like, my read is that my read would actually be like, this is too much to give up. But obviously, according to AI calculations, the corner's worth slightly more. So it really depends. Like, I would not be able to sacrifice these because I'm like 20 points, too much to give up. But if you actually count the points in here, it's actually worth it. So I would not be able to see that, but like a pro would be able to see that. You would have to, I think you would have to be significantly stronger than where I am to actually make this type of trade. So the correct move is here because this actually gives you a base as well. And the thing is, yeah, I can connect those, but you can see it's very damaging to white now for me to connect those. So I'm going to obviously cut. You're going to do this. This is not Sente. So this is not Sente. So now you have to kind of fix and go to. And the thing is, like, even if you did this, I'm not really sure if this actually works. Like, because this is always Sente. I can't just do this because if you come down here, I'm in a lot of trouble. I am in a ton of trouble if you come down here. So I don't know if that even works for me. So like at this point, like this cutting point might look threatening, but it honestly may not be all that threatening because it's really hard for white to, do anything like that. So like if you force this way, white's just kind of screwed if you force this way. Because like you lose all that bottom. And the thing is, like, this might look like white has a lot of liberties, but he really doesn't have a lot of liberties. If you push here and then push here, he actually just might be out of liberties, honestly. So this is not a good situation for white. So like you don't really need to fix this. And the other thing you need to think about, is like if he does this and you do this, white's essentially dead. White's basically essentially dead here. So even if he captures these stones and you capture this group, you still win. You still generally win because like this is worth a lot more than these stones. So that's also like a trade that you would actually make. So that's another thing you got to think about. I extend here. He does this. I come out here. This is definitely a better move because it gives black the option of coming out here if white does anything, and it does also protect this cut. So this move protects 2 and 1. This is just protecting the cut. Gives me the instant Hane. You should definitely do this. But he does this. He should definitely do that because this isn't necessarily Sente. I should have done this first. But anyways, this tightens your liberties a lot. So that's something that you do need to be aware of. That does tighten your liberties a whole lot. So he connects here. I shouldn't have connected. I should have just went ahead and done this because there's really not much you can do. Once again, I'm getting too obsessed with my own stones up here. Yes, it is big if he takes these stones up here because it gives him a lot of influence for territorial stuff. But if I actually like end up basically just connecting all these groups together and living, this is not worth all that much. So I kind of got trapped there. So like when you're making connections, like if you're DDK, you might always want to make connections. But as you move up the SDKs, and especially as you move up the DANs, you have to think about like what kind of is this connection actually worth making? Can I get more out of the next move if I don't make this connection? And in this case, it is yes. This is actually a bigger move by quite a lot. So I make this connection. This is actually the right move. It forces me to do certain things. Like I'm not exactly sure. This would be the right move if you can play perfectly, but I'm assuming you can't because I can't, and I don't think anyone can. So that's definitely not. I probably wouldn't play that right now. But he comes down here. But like the thing is like that like your black's actually alive. So I might actually just play that. But he comes down here. I come here. He comes. I should have done this because this is actually alive. But I do this. He does that. I do this. So this is actually, like I actually said, I actually said that white doesn't have enough liberties, but the AI doesn't think so. Like to me, when I look at this, I'm just like, if to me when I look at this, well, I guess like white's actually alive, so it doesn't really matter because I can just come down this way. So yeah, I misread this. Like I guess white's just alive, so it doesn't really matter. So this is the correct move and then like I would do this. White's alive, black's alive. So this is the correct move because this is actually alive. This is not alive. This is actually not alive. So I should have just went ahead and done this first. And then black's pretty much dead. But I was afraid that I didn't actually have enough liberties in here. I was afraid that I did not have enough liberties in here because I actually didn't calculate this out right. I didn't actually read this right. So I should have just went ahead and done this and killed him. But the thing is like I did this. The right move is this because then once again you're alive. Now since white has this move, white's actually alive. So white actually gets the Sente here. So I didn't actually make a comeback. I was actually alive. I just misread it. Because like I forgot I could just since I didn't pressure these liberties, I can just come straight down. So white's actually alive. So I did this. He does this. And where did I go? Oh, I did this. I don't really know why. I mean, this white is actually alive when he does this, but then this actually might be Sente. So black wants to live in Sente here, so that's what he would actually do. White does this. He does this. So this does put some pressure on this stone, but I'm not really sure how that works out. So I should have just killed him, obviously. I should have, this is actually Ko. This is actually a Ko, if played right. But you don't really want to play Ko for the fate of this entire group. That's no good. So I obviously did something wrong by doing this. Because I wanted to fix this cut. This is pretty big, but obviously killing this group is a lot bigger. So at this time, when he does this and I do this, because I wanted to be sure that like I would have enough liberties to kill him, so I came out. At this point, I already knew that this was dead, but like I just didn't really want to bother to do the reading at this point. I really just didn't really want to bother to do the reading at this point. So I just kind of came out. I did this. Like this entire time here, I'm basically fighting for a Sente because I want to kill him. I don't think he realized that. So that's why I did this. I'm just like, okay, if he extends out, I'm just going to kill him and I'm going to win. I'm going to win. So I do this. You have to do this. It's a Ko whether you live or not. And you actually have a lot of Ko threats in here. So you might actually win this Ko. You're going to have to give up a lot in order to win that Ko, but you would actually win that Ko. But since I do this, he does that. So now it's just dead. And he does that. I can block here, but I can also do this. And it's just dead either way. So at this point, the game basically ends. Because there's no way you're going to pull back from this. So I did actually have a wrong read. Here because this group is actually alive. So the thing is like, once you actually get into like this kind of position, once you actually get into like this kind of position, like securing your own eye space is very important. And the thing is like, And the thing is, like, this is more like high level thinking and play, but like, which Hanes do you have to connect, and which Hanes do you not have to connect? Like, you realize like which cuts you have to connect and which cuts you don't have to connect, and fighting for eye space. That's like the most important thing here. And like as you get like this guy's like 5K, right? As you get into 5K, 4K, 2K, 1Q, like that's going to become more and more and more important as you go up, because Dan level players are always going to be looking for like small advantages. Like, do I have to answer this? Like when you're a DDQ and or maybe even a lower SDQ player, your thinking is generally like your thinking has to be like, how do I answer my opponent's move? When you move up into higher SDK and into the Dan levels, your thinking has to change from that to like, do I need to answer this move? And how's the best way to answer this move so I can get a Sente advantage? If you don't think like that, it's going to be really hard for you to get to a Dan level and move up the Dan ranks. Because like just by using like just bases and connections, you're gonna your playstyle is gonna be too passive to really like. If you play against me, that's not gonna work, because like I already know all the basics, and I'm like constantly thinking in my head like, do I actually need to connect? Do I actually need to base? Like here, after this move, right? Like after I play this move, right? After I play this move, like I'm like, even after I play this move, let's just say he extends. Like I'm always constantly thinking, do I actually need to connect this? Or even like before I do this, I'm like, do I need to actually connect this? I mean, here you can't really connect me, but even if you could, you can't cut me because I think there's a ladder down here. But even if you could, I would still make this move because I don't necessarily need to connect. Would you recommend some level trying specifically keep focus? Well, it like I said, Cap, it depends on what your goal is for the game. If you just want to get to the SDK level, then yes, because getting to like 9Qs, getting to 9Q just by basing, and getting to like a 9Q just by basing or just by connecting all your mistakes, you can generally do that, because when I play DDK players, the biggest problem for them is like making huge catastrophic mistakes, which ends the game pretty much immediately. But like, when you get to like 6Q, 5Q, and if you've been playing that way and you get to 6Q, 5Q, then you have to relearn how you think about the game. So it's a quicker way to get to 6Q, 5Q, but then you have a harder time transitioning your thinking once you get to 6Q or 5Q. So it depends on what your goal actually is. Because like I can guarantee you that myself and like Colossi or I don't know how to pronounce that other guy's name, like Derwin. We don't actually think like basing and connecting. We're always at our level. We're always looking for like advantages that you can actually get over the other player. We're considering like what are critical moves, like what kind of shapes are good, what kind of shapes are bad, how we can use influence versus territory. Like we're kind of thinking about that. We're not thinking about so much like, oh, I must have a base or I must connect. But at the DDK level, getting to like 9Q or 10Q, that is kind of like the focus right there. So it depends, like, if you go my teaching route, it takes you longer to get to 9Q or 10Q because you will make a lot more catastrophic mistakes thinking the way I do. But once you get there, you'll have an easier time advancing up. So there's a trade-off. It's like kind of like borrowing from Peter to help Paul. So it's a trade-off, and it's what your personal goals are in Go. Like for me right now, like I'm trying to get to my dad's level. My dad's like a Chinese amateur 6-7 Dan. He's like 9 Dan on Fox. So I would definitely have to change my thinking. Like right now, I'm trying to change my thinking. Like, how do I think like, oh, sacrificing, like the thing is like my thinking right now is like, how do I get my mind to think, oh, sacrificing these 6 stones is actually okay if I can wrap around the corner and maybe take a couple of stones of his. Because right now my thinking is my thinking is like, dang, that's like 20, 25 points. But I'm not thinking, oh, if I do that, then territorially, I basically negate his influence that he gains from this, because this group is already alive and he can't attack me anymore to gain advantages, and I gain about 25, 30 points on the bottom. So like that's like a much higher level concept than just like, do I connect this or not? So like as you move up, the concepts change. And of course, like, kata go is like thinking 40 moves in advance, but that's beyond human possibility. So that you shouldn't try to mimic kata go. Now, there are josekis that you can learn from kata go. There are definitely josekis that you can learn from kata go for sure. But outside of those, like sometimes you see like kata go saying like play a move halfway across the screen. I see a lot of SDK players and DDK players try to mimic that. I'm just like, technically that is the correct move, but you have no idea how to use that move. And I doubt you'll ever have any idea how to use that move because even professionals have trouble with that. So that's why you don't mimic the AI, because the AI has the ability to calculate like no other human does. And that's why like the best AIs, even if the professional 9-dans take a 2-stone advantage from them, the professional 9-dans still lose because the AI is just so much better. So, and speaking of Joseki, let's actually go over some of these. I mean, this was obviously a 2-stone advantage I gave him. So I do feel like I want to turn the AI review off. I don't know how to do that. Let me just do that. So speaking of the Josekis, I'm just gonna play here because I want to do a white Joseki and some concepts like a lot of people don't seem to know this particular Joseki. So the most common one, the most common Joseki is this. So this variation is very important. I'll often play this variation, and in handicap games that I play with other people, they won't know this Joseki, and they'll screw it up somehow. This is one of the most common ones played. Now, it is true that this is only slightly better than this. The difference between that Joseki and this one is like maybe half a point, a third of a point. This is technically like half a point, a third of a point advantage for black, whereas this is pretty much exactly even. Right? So if you are like SDK or DDK and you're white, you might just want to play this. Because even though it's a half a point, a third of a point advantage for black, it's not going to matter at that level. And I would actually say the difference between this and that other one, the more complex one, is not really relevant unless you're really at like a pro level. Even at my level, the advantage gained between this one and that one is kind of irrelevant. But because as you move up the ranks, people are going to play this Joseki a lot more, you should actually know how to play this. Well, the thing about Q2 is if you play it this way, I mean, this ladder generally won't work for you for black, and this is a loss for black because you're not actually getting much territory here, and you're losing way too much influence, and your shape's totally broken. Q2 for white. Oh, no. Q2 is not Joseki for white. Oh, yeah. So this is what I was talking about earlier. Q2 is okay. This is an old Joseki, but in this particular Joseki, white it's actually black's advantage by about a third of a point to a half of a point on the entire game. But like I said, this the difference is kind of irrelevant for anyone except for like pro players. If you're like, just like lower or mid Dan, this probably isn't going to make a difference. If you're like DDK or SDK, it's not going to make a difference either. It's just that like it's a slight advantage for black, but the advantage isn't going to matter at everything except for the highest levels of play. But since a lot of players do like to play this, you should actually know this Joseki because they're going to play it a lot. And then at this point, white does this and black does not answer. If black does this, white's going to go here. If white wants to respond, white should jump, but otherwise white should just ignore it and go here. You might be like thinking, oh, this is really scary. But even at this, you would just ignore it and go here. When he comes down, you can just take the stone. And the thing is, like, at this point, the game is actually about even. Because the value that you got from these two and threatening to take these two stones is about equal or maybe even slightly less than giving up these two moves here. If you do this, however, and I know a lot of DDK and SDK players really want to do this, and you let white get like either this move or this move, then white has a big advantage because the value of these two stones is just these two stones at this point. Because once you actually extend down here, no one's actually going to cut here. because that's pointless because you can just take these 2 stones. So the thing is, like, if you take another move to kill these 2 stones, then white gets a big advantage because then white gets a pretty big advantage because this stone is worth significantly more than this. Like, this thickness is really good, but you didn't actually kill the corner group. And these 3 stones, they basically broke up your side, and now this stone's under threat. Now, you can actually, I'm pretty sure you can actually live this stone. I'm pretty sure you can actually live, but you would have to get, I don't know if that's how you would play it. You'd probably have to study that yourself. But you would probably have to, you would probably have to like bump white, and now you've made walls for white. And generally this is going to be like white sente as well. So you got to be like, taking these 2 stones is not that big. So trading this one 26 for 27 is going to be black's loss. So like, so yeah, like this, like just ignore the stone. I just played it out here to give white sente. Just ignore that stone there. So this kind of opening, if it's in this position right now, it's actually a fairly decent advantage to white. So that's another kind of concept that people have to learn. Thickness is good up to a certain point, but if it becomes extra thick, then the value of the extra thickness kind of like depreciates over time significantly. The other thing black sometimes does is he does this. Here, white should just connect, and black does this. I suppose white can just do this. And then at this point, I feel like, you know, if black can do something like this, and then maybe white does something like this, I mean, like, that's generally okay as well. The other one is a lot more complicated. At the Dan level, a lot of players will play this. Here, the right thing to do is to disconnect, play here, and then play here. That's the other Joseki. This is about even. White's shape is not clean. You do not try to repair these 2 outside stones, because that just makes them heavier and more juicy for black to actually attack later. So black actually gets sente in this. This is roughly even because the 2 groups are actually cut. Between these 2 stones, if you have to save one, you would save the top one. The bottom stone is worth less than the top one because the top one connects the 2 groups. At least right now. Like, if there's other developments, obviously that changes. But those are the 3 Josekis that you should have actually learned on that approach. Not because like they're so much better than this more simple Joseki. You can play the slide Joseki just fine. There's no problem with that, except maybe at the highest Dan levels, which I'm guessing most people watching here aren't. But you should learn these because as you move up the ranks, more and more people will actually play these Josekis. And if you don't know them, you'll screw up and your opponent will have like an advantage going forward. So that's just that lesson for today. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Hit that bell notifications button. I will be back. Maybe I'll do another one tonight if I have time. Well, sorry, would you see it make a bottom stone worth more living? This one, you mean? And actually black usually does something like this. Or something like black would usually do something like this. Actually, no, like to finish this Joseki, after white does 17, black has to do 18. Black would not cut this way. Black cuts this way. White would also not connect. Because if white connects, then, you know, I mean, in this case, white's actually dead. If he connects, in this case, white is actually just making things harder for himself. So you don't want to end up in that situation if you're white. 03, where's 03? Well, I mean, in what situation? Well, I mean, I think generally, if like there was a lot of territory at stake on this side, I suppose. But realistically, this stone's going to be worth more than 03. For the vast majority of games, like the top stone connects, so it's going to be worth more. Right now, you wouldn't bother rescuing one of those stones. Like when white Ataris, I don't know. I don't think I would connect. I think I would just go elsewhere. Like I know in some cases Katago. I know in some cases like Katago would tell you to do this, but this doesn't feel good for me because you can't do this. This is dead. You can't do this. This is dead. You could only do this, and this is just not really a situation you want yourself in. Because now you have a weak group, and you're just giving black more territory by doing this. So not really like something you want to do. So those are the 3 Josekis you do actually need to know. I mean, I would say the same thing as Colossus that like when you're in DDK or lower SDK, avoid look, what's my usual streaming schedule? So the thing is, I play different people, but I just take whoever accepts my game first. I do limit the range from 5 to 12 though. I might move it up to from 4 to 12. At 4Q, 3Q, I have to start paying attention a lot more to the game. So I usually stream like mid afternoon, like 3 or 4. But on some days I don't do it because I also like to go fishing. And as the weather gets warmer, like sometimes I'll just take off to go fishing. I don't have a set stream schedule, but it's usually mid afternoon. From like I start at like 3 or 4. Yeah, so like if you're at 4 or 5Q, you do need to like think more. Like every time like your opponent does a move, you have to think like, do I need to answer? Or can I just make another big move? If I sacrifice these stones, like, can I get an advantage somewhere else? So I think like if you actually like, all throughout your Q ranks and throughout your Dan ranks, those are the questions you're going to be, you never quite master it, but you get better and better at it. Like when I play my dad, the reason that there's like a 3-4 stone difference in strength between me and him is because he's better at judging those things. And he's also just better at intuition of which play is bigger. And that's why there's like a 3-4 stone difference between me and him. So yeah, that's the lesson for today. My dad's a Chinese amateur 6 Dan or 7 Dan. So on Fox, when he was playing on Fox, he was 9 Dan. He was 9 Dan on Fox. I'm roughly 5 or 6 Dan on Fox. Also, like he was one of the, like 30 years ago when he was playing AGA, he was one of the strongest amateurs in the United States. He actually beat like a couple of professionals in online tournaments. So like he is much, much stronger than me. He is actually much, much stronger than me. Here's the thing, like top level, like elite level amateurs are about this. Elite level amateurs are like about the same rank as professionals. Like if you took, like there's no guarantee that like a 1 Dan pro will beat like an amateur 7 Dan. They're about the same. Like elo wise, they'd be about the same because a lot of pros on Fox are strong 8 Dans or 9 Dans. So like pros and amateurs, like top level amateurs and pros play each other all the time on Fox now. But back then it was a lot weirder for pros to play amateurs. Now it's like not that weird anymore because like if you watch some of the stronger amateur streamers on, like, let's say there's this one Korean guy, Korean amateur 7 Dan that uploads that uploads on YouTube all the time. He plays pros all the time, and his win rate against pros isn't too bad. No, like it's always been that. Yeah, Budok Doctor. He's like a pro. He's pro level. He's an amateur, but he beats pros all the time. I don't think the gap is getting necessarily less. I think it was always that way. Like top level amateurs are about the same as bottom level pros. Because a lot of the amateurs, like my father told me once, like back before I was born, that he actually had a chance to become pro in China, but my grandmother wanted him to go to college, so he ended up not taking that opportunity, right? So like the thing is like pros aren't necessarily always better than amateurs. Yeah, I mean like pros necessarily aren't always necessarily better. Like there are strong Asian amateurs on Fox that are 9 Dans, and there are actually like weaker pros that are 8 Dan on Fox. So it's not guaranteed. It's not guaranteed that amateurs are always weaker than pros or the other way around. Now the gap is even harder because of the event of AI. Because like it used to be like someone like you guys or maybe even me. Let's say like if I didn't have a dad that was really strong, right? If I didn't have a dad that was like super strong, like to get a game with like a pro level player, I would have to pay. I would actually have to pay. Right? But the thing is like now with the AI, I don't have to pay anyone to play a top level player. I can just play the AI, which is better than any pro. So amateurs can actually like improve just as good as the pros. Of course, most professionals are like the talented ones from the amateur rank, so they tend to be better anyways. But like you don't have to play a top level player. But a Dan 3, not necessarily. Like generally, like the newer 9-dans are the strongest ones. The newer 9-dans are like the strongest ones. But like the older 9-dans, a lot of times they'll lose to like the newer 1-dans because like a lot of the older 9-dans are there because of a lot of times are there because of seniority. And the top ranks have improved a lot. Whereas like the newer 1-dans that are coming in, they actually have to fight to get to that 1-dan. So sometimes like it's really like really, really odd. It's really odd. It's actually really, really odd how that works. Because like a lot of the older Dan ranks are kind of like almost like honorary ranks because they've been in there for a long time. People recognize them as a good teacher. Whereas like a lot of the newer kids that come up into the pro ranks, they have to fight through a lot of people to get into the pro ranks. So they actually might be better than some of the older amateur, like professional 9-dans. Like once you get to that top amateur professional level, it's really hard to tell who's better. Like the top, like I would say the top ranked people in the world are definitely like at the top. Like guys like Koji or Park Jinghua, they're definitely a cut above like everyone else. But as you go, once you leave like the top 50, top 100 players, it gets a lot more nebulous. All right, once you got your rank, you never lose it. So once you get Dan, you'll keep it forever. Yes, that is true. For pros, not for amateurs, but for pros, yes. So like I said, a lot of the old like professional 9-dans may not be as good as like the newer professional 1-dans because like it's an honorary rank basically. Whereas to get a professional rank, it's actually like it's really, really hard. Nowadays, there's so much competition, right? Like remember like Ryan Lee, right? The guy from the guy that lives in New York who actually does videos sometimes, like Ryan Lee. He's like a professional 3-dan, right? But he's beaten professional 9-dans in tournaments. So it's very nebulous until you get to the very top. It's actually nebulous to see who's better until you get to the very top. Like amateur ranks are much easier for judging. Amateur ranks are much easier for judging strength because like you move up and down. You actually move up and down as you win or lose. Like actually, the thing is like actually on OGS rank, I've been as high up as 3-dan, but as low as 2Q as well, depending on how tilted I am when I'm playing. Because I tend to play like with my other account, I tend to play really late at night. And I'm not playing as well. And then when I start losing, I start tilting. So I lose like, I start playing on tilt and I'll lose like 10 games in a row. And then my rank just goes down. And then I'm like, gotta win back up now. I don't actually think they decline when they get young, but Go kind of evolves. I do think like Go kind of evolves as well. So they may not be as familiar. And the thing is like, a lot of the older 9-dans, they don't play as much. When you're not constantly playing and practicing, you do decline. It's not really a decline because of age. It's a decline because they don't play as much. Like I play a lot each day, but like I quit playing for 25 years and I quit playing for 25 years before I started again. And when I started again, I knew I was at least like 1 or 2 stones weaker than when I was younger. I'm still not quite as good as when I was like 13 or so. Because when I was 13, I was like 3 or 4 Dan. So I was 3 or 4 Dan consistently. Whereas right now, I'm consistently probably like 2 Dan or so, 1 or 2 Dan. So it's the lack of practice, which is why they're not as good. It's not so much like their age decline. Because like there's new Josekis coming up all the time. So like continuously playing and then using the AI to review. So like I would say like, you know, at you guys' ranks like 4 or 5Q, you guys are getting good enough. You're getting good enough to actually understand a lot of the AI moves, at least on a more broad-based level. Like some of the technical moves are like impossible to understand. But like on a broad-based level, you're good enough to actually review your game with Katago. So I've done this a few times on stream. How you review your game with Katago, right? Like how you actually review your game with Katago, right? Let me actually show you how I do this sometimes. Because I review like a lot of my games. I'm like, I know there's a move there that could actually be really good for me, but I don't exactly know how to play. So with Kata Train, yeah, if you're at 20Q, don't do this because you're just gonna get confused. If you're at 20Q, like don't do this just because you're confused. So like, you know, you bring up Kata Trainer. Kata Trainer is free, by the way. And then you basically play over you basically just like redo your moves on kata trainer. Right? Let's say like this game. If I was gonna review this game with kata train, right? So like I would put on analysis, do this. I played. So it's harder. I don't know how to pass right now. I actually don't know how to pass right now on this. But let's say if I was playing a regular game, like, and white played here, right? It will actually show you the optimal move to go. So like how I learned like certain things weren't worth it. Like, this Joseki that, let's just say like, this Joseki that I showed, this particular Joseki I showed, now I know like leaving this alone and playing somewhere else is the best. Like the thing is like this particular variation I showed, I'm like, yeah, it's better for black to like approach, right? And if you do this, it's just better for black to ignore you and keep approaching. And if he comes down here, you play this. And then like, this would be the optimal move. And and let's say he plays this, right? Your optimal move is actually still to cover up. And the thing is like right now you can see, like black is up by 5.5 points at this point because you traded this move for this move. So you can actually start analyzing your games with this tool. And it's been very helpful for me. You do have to be at least the mid SDK level to really understand it though. So once you get up to like 4 or 5Q, you should consider doing something like this because hey, it's free and you can do it at any time. So yeah, I have to go. So I might be back later tonight, but thanks for watching, and I will talk to you guys later.